Hey guys, welcome back to the Route 281 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Today's episode is with a homeschool mom. We talk about some of the joys, challenges, and debunk some of the misconceptions about homeschooling. We are thankful to spend time with her today, Mrs. Julie Swinger. Today's episode is sponsored in part by SECHLER Insurance Group, LLC, your local independent insurance agency proudly serving Somerset County and the surrounding area since 1931. With offices located in Rockwood and Somerset, SECHLER Insurance Group specializes in auto, home, commercial, farm, life, and financial services. So stop by and see Scott and Jason for a personalized review of your insurance. Okay. Julie Swinger.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, wife, mother, Christian, homeschool mom, which is why you're here today.
That is.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. How long have you been homeschooling?
It's I think we said this on the phone. It's kind of a joke. When do you start homeschooling? So if your mindset is to go into it from the beginning, that's pretty much what you do. As soon as your kids are born, you're technically homeschooling because you're teaching them from the beginning.
Right.
So if you want to get technical, from the beginning, from the day they were born is when you start. And then there's, different wiggle room beyond that. I'd say with my oldest, we kind of started book work when she was about 5. So she's 12 now. So I was doing my math here. About 2018, I guess, is when I started doing some workbooks with her and maybe officially saying that we started homeschooling. So about when she was 5.
Okay. Wow. So this is something you knew you wanted to do.
Yeah, and people always ask, how did you know? How did this come about? Everyone has their own story. Mine's kind of unique, and looking back on it, it's really weird, but it makes perfect sense now. When I myself was a teenager in high school, I went to Conemaugh Township Public School. I always had a thought in my head or a vision that my future children would never ride a school bus. And that was super weird to think about because, number one, I was a teenager myself at that time. No thoughts of future children or anything, really. And I was in public school riding the school bus myself. So why wouldn't my kids ride a school bus someday? Yeah. But I just kind of dismissed the thought. That was weird, whatever. And now, fast forward years later, family, as soon as we had our first daughter, I thought, okay, that was it. She's not going to ride a school bus because we're going to homeschool. And that was pretty much where that came from. So
you had this thought early on and you followed through, obviously.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions along the way. I really didn't know what I was doing. My husband was public schooled as well. Nobody in our family was homeschooled.
Yeah.
So we were kind of the forerunners for that in our family, not really knowing what does this mean. But looking back, God put a lot of support people around me. That's kind of the secret, is find other people in the same boat. Talk to them, get ideas. Yeah. How do we do this thing? Yeah. And then go from there.
So, do you think that there's something that led you to choose this path for your family?
Yeah, I think that, and I'll kind of preface, I thought about this before I came today. Everything I'm going to say today about homeschooling, I want to preface with, I have strong, deep respect for the public school. The teachers, the students that do public school, I support them. There's no, it's not a competition. homeschool's better than public school's better. It's the beauty of the whole thing is that you have a choice,
Absolutely.
And that's
Yes.
part of living in
Absolutely.
America.
That's
and,
what I was going to say.
and having freedom. I really respect public school, and nothing I say is a bash to them or a diss. Like I said, I went to Conemaugh Township, had a fabulous experience there. I think I turned out all right, So, I just know that we wanted the freedom in our home to make the decisions on how to raise our children and how to educate them and school them. And there's a lot more about raising children than just their education. So we knew we wanted a hand in that. From the beginning.
That's commendable. Those are good reasons. And I would echo your sentiment to the fact that this is not it's not a competition. It's just the fact that you get the choice is, that's everything. We have the freedom to choose how we want to raise our kids, or we have the freedom to choose where we want to work, or whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to work for somebody. And it's not that one way is wrong. It's just you can individualize and the way things fit your family and your family's needs. And homeschooling for you is a way to fit your prioritize your family. And cool.
Yep.
Very cool. So what does homeschooling look like for you and your kids on a day-to-day basis?
Every day is different. There's a general framework for what it kind of looks like, but again, the beauty of homeschooling is, I tell people, it's freedom. You have the freedom and the choice to change, to just change what you're doing, stop, do something else. There's days where we are kind of, I tell the kids in the morning, okay, it's a home day. We're home all day today. We're not leaving. It's a solid school day. So they know that means they have a certain responsibilities that each one has to do. My kids are 12, 10, and 8. So each one kind of has their own to-do list, maybe, of certain books and curriculums. My 2 oldest can be independent with a lot of it, so they'll kind of go off on their own and work on their stuff while I sit with my youngest side by side and we work together. And then they all have an independent list of different things that they need to do during the day, like practice their piano or work on their handwriting, different things for different kids. And they know that those are things that they need to get done, and they can kind of do that at their pace if it's reasonable. So, they're usually on it. Sometimes I have to jump in and keep them on task. But then there's other days where, my dad texts me in the morning and says, can I come over? Can I stop in? Grandpa visit?
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, we're home.
Right.
Come on over. So I tell the kids Grandpa's coming, and we stop. We shut the books because family's more important.
Yeah.
And of course we're going to tell him yes. And so he'll come over for a couple hours and we visit with Grandpa and do whatever.
Yeah.
And then we, depending on what time of day it is, we may or may not pick up where we left off, or we just say, let's just stop. We'll start again tomorrow, or, we can adapt to whatever's happening.
Right.
So that's really sweet.
No typical, you do have structure in place, right? And that's important with kids too. So even though your day can look different day to day, but there is structure around their education to a degree.
Right.
But you have that freedom to be flexible for a visit from Grandpa, or an ad-lib trip to do a podcast.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or like I just told the kids, when in December here, when Christmas is coming, we're just taking a week off. Like, I need to bake cookies. We need to do the Christmas things, and we're gonna have fun. We're gonna take a break.
Yeah.
So they know that, all right, a break's coming, and we just won't do our book work. But that doesn't mean, and this is a joke in the homeschool world too, it doesn't mean you're not learning. Learning is
Absolutely.
happening all the time around you. Math is in the kitchen, baking cookies. We're doing fractions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, it's all around, and they're great readers. They'll pick up their books and just read when there's downtime.
Yeah, I can't tell my kids there's math in the kitchen. They won't want to bake anymore.
Yeah,
But,
you got to sneak it in.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, they do. And Lindsay does a great job with that, and she has them in the kitchen. And you can find ways to learn through anything, and which I'm sure you're very creative in doing that. And I would think that that's probably a plus, is that you kind of get to be creative with the things that maybe you wouldn't have thought that was a lesson, but it actually ended up being a lesson. So
we actually just had my second daughter's 10th birthday party, and her theme was snakes. Oddly enough. So the whole theme of the birthday were snakes. And long story short, we had our friends, our veterinarian, come with his 2 pet snakes and did a whole, a whole lecture, a presentation about his 2 snakes in front of this captive audience of children, wide-eyed. And he was in his glory telling about all these facts. He was geeking out on snakes, and the kids were just eating it up. And my friend across the room texted me and said, "Thank you for including science today. Check." Because we got a whole snake lesson.
Yeah, really, because you don't want to do that in a while. You want to do it with a professional.
No. Right. And how much cooler was it to sit and listen to Dr. Scott hold his snakes and talk about them, than to just maybe crack open a book and read some dry facts about them, which I don't diss. Of course, there's a place for that, but those kids are going to remember that hands-on activity, face-to-face interaction, so much more. So we were like, science, check.
Yeah, anytime you can sneak in hands-on learning and apply it to, whatever the lesson is.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to stick more.
Yeah. I learn best that way.
Right.
I'm a visual learner.
Right. Me too.
And hands-on, I learn hands-on by doing. It's what, on-the-job training is necessary in most occupations.
Right.
Because you need to learn the skills in person and get
your
feet dirt,
Yep.
Get your feet wet, so to speak, right?
Right.
Nobody got bit?
Nobody got bit. I'm trying to think if we had any flubs. No, everything was there. At one point, it was funny. Scott needed his hands for something, and he set the snakes on the floor. And I'm like right beside him cutting birthday cake, and I just caught out a corner of my eye, snakes on the floor. Yeah, and thought, oh, this is so weird. But
kids loved it. Would have been, she would remote learn on that subject.
Yeah. Back in the corner.
Yeah.
It was cool.
My youngest and I, we will watch Serpent Invasion on the History Channel. Where they're catching these pythons in Florida.
We just watched that.
Yeah, and so Lindsay won't even really appreciate even us watching it. She's like, I can't even be in the same room. But
yesterday,
it's kind of fascinating. But
my kids came and said, "Can we watch Little House on the Prairie or a snake video?" Like, were the 2 choices, and I was like,
"Oh
yes.
Man, I love Little House on the Prairie."
Oh, so do we. It's our go-to.
Yeah, Paul Ingalls. I've got the pipe to remind me of Paul Ingalls.
We are Little House on the Prairie through and through.
Yeah, I always said if I could go back to another time in life, I would have liked that.
That's it. It would have been
there
rough.
There might be some modern convenience I'd miss, but I think I would have got along well with Mr. Edwards and Paul Ingalls.
Yep, we just watched it last night before bed. It's our jam. So we'll have to check out Serpent Invasion.
Oh yeah,
time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, these pet snakes have taken over the Everglades, and it's a problem, which is why they're hunting them. But
yes, we watched it. They put trackers in them.
Yeah,
like they capture them, put trackers in them. They put 2 in them in case when the first battery dies, they still have one going.
It leads them to nests and things like that.
And then they can keep track of them.
Yeah, cool. So lesson on snake. I wouldn't have saw that coming, but hey, biology. Wildlife. You're doing FFA a little different way, or science class, I guess.
Yeah, and like that's how you find out where your kids' passions lie is by what excites them. What do they want to do? What are they into? Yeah. And like that's a plus of homeschool because I can see that, okay, this one's really into reptiles and the animal world here. Let's feed that. Let's get her books. Let's take her to the zoo or let's get her success in that area. Whereas kind of a downside if you're in the public school system, yes, you can learn about snakes and stuff, but you kind of have to go with the class, you're moving.
They're only going to go so far on it. And then,
right.
And then they got to take an interest on their own. And
yes. It has to kind of be outside of the classroom. You do your stuff. So we can kind of make it the classroom based on what the kid loves,
right. So was there like a specific moment or event where you're like, I'm going to homeschool?
I think when number one was born,
Yeah.
I just knew. I'm like, this is just natural. And it was really, God just laid it really heavy on my heart to be a stay-at-home mom. We were fortunate, that my husband had a job to support us. We were willing to make the sacrifices to live a standard of living that would keep me at home. And we did it. We just knew this was really important. So we started off with number one, and it was going well, and just continued to 3 kids now. We're still doing it.
I think that's important. So would you take a second to just explain that, like, your decision to be a stay-at-home mom? It's a decision that my family and I made also, but like what sacrifices did you have to weigh and balance to, you're like, what, this is the lifestyle we're going to choose, and kind of what things did you have to decide you were going to give up, or maybe not specifically, but in general, like what does that sacrifice look like? Like you said, you're living on one income.
Well, it's kind of in our blood. My husband and I, we are both frugal by nature. So I come from a frugal background, a thrifty background, where I was just taught and learned to, be content with what you have. We don't have to drive brand new cars. We don't have to live in the biggest house. We don't have to go on, like break the bank to go on vacation. We can do lesser things, more inexpensive things, and have just as great experience. So like I was coming into with that mindset, and my husband too. And he's a numbers man. He's a money man. He was a banker. So he's, really good at making a budget, staying organized and following it. So we kind of came in with a good foundation to start with. And then just as we started to grow our family, to know that, well, I actually do remember there was a point, I don't know when, but somewhere in my mind where I said, I would eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day if it meant that would keep me home with my kids. Yeah. And I just remember thinking like, I'll do whatever it takes to stay home. Yeah. And so, that just kind of plays out in things like, making your coffee at home. We don't have, don't go buy a $5 one every day. Just little things like that. Driving lesser cars, used cars.
And you see the rewards.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, I know that, again, I'm respectful. I know that people are in certain life situations where this may not be an option for them. I know that. But sometimes I've heard people in my life express a desire to, oh man, I wish I didn't have to work, or I wish I could stay home, or I wish, or you're so lucky. And I kind of know in the back of my mind maybe what their life looks like, their lifestyle. And I've never had the guts or anything to confront them on it. It's not really my business, but I know that there's a lot of things that they could pull back on, or choose to cut out, or do without, or reduce to maybe make that a possibility. Yeah. So, I just I choose to be respectful and not step in there, but we really, it was important to us to do this. So we were willing to do anything. Yeah. Yeah. We've done the same thing ever since our oldest daughter, since she was born. Lindsay, we both wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom, and we made huge sacrifices. We both quit our careers in Pittsburgh and moved back to this area. And, did without things that but it's, our family has a level of peace that knowing that mom's home, and we're there, and the kids really feed off of that. They feed off of that stability, and it's like I said, not everybody can do it. It does take sacrifice, but the rewards are well worth the sacrifice, in my opinion. Absolutely. The mom is kind of the manager of the house, the flow, the atmosphere, the feel of the house. And, if she's home and able to invest in the home and her children and the people there, it's just, it's really nice. Yeah. It's amazing to me to see how natural that it comes to her. And it wouldn't come so naturally to me. Like, I feel like obviously my role is different, and right, and
it just is that way. And could I do it? Yeah, for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But my role, obviously my role is to be out working and providing. And I love having that role, and she loves being a stay-at-home mom.
And I always knew growing up, like, the question you always get asked, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I think in junior high, I was on a mission or a retreat with the church, and I remember like thinking, I just want to have a husband and children and keep my home. Yeah. Was what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, right. And I think that's the thing and I've been asked I remember being asked as a kid, what do you want to do? And we ask kids that now. What are you going to college for? What do you want to be when you grow up? Really, we ought to be asking, what kind of life do you want to live when you grow up? Then what supports that lifestyle?
Yeah.
Because you want to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, guess what? I think being a veterinarian might be out of the question because they're on call. They're, or a doctor or a nurse. I'm not saying that you can't, but people get creative. But yeah, you really should be asking yourself, what kind of lifestyle do I want to live? Then what would support that? I think that's a question we need to be asking kids.
And they're really only in our care for such a short time.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm already seeing now, when we were in those baby and toddler years, it was rough. It was really rough, and I struggled. And I now see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like
gets easier.
My youngest is 8, and everybody can do a lot now.
Yeah,
I mean, they're cleaning the house. They can make food. They can, and I can see where, I'm going to have some freedom sometime here to, if and when I want to do some things or have dreams, I'll have time for them. They'll leave the nest eventually.
Right. It's a brief window in time, and you're capitalizing on it. And, yeah, that's great. So, was there what was your biggest fear or hesitation in doing this? Did you have any?
Sure. I think every homeschool mom or parent would say, or they just say, I can't do it. Like I either don't have the patience to be home with my kids all day, or I'm not smart enough. Everybody thinks you have to be smart enough, because if you're the teacher in the house teaching all your kids at different levels, all the things, how could one person do that?
Yeah.
And so the answer is of course, is that you can't. Most people aren't geniuses. We're just common people that have strengths and weaknesses and skills. So the answer is that, we've kind of come to learn and see is that my job is not to know everything. Nobody knows everything. My job is to teach you how to learn, how to get the answer, where to find it and how and how to do research to learn in life. And there's a lot more to life, like we said, than just bookworks. I don't have to walk around and like spout off snake statistics every day. That stuff's good if if that's your job, but so much of life is we call it bookwork, non-academics. There's a lot more to it. So, of course, when they're little, we teach them ABC 1, 2, 3, and you get the foundation. Yes, we have to learn math from the beginning. 1 + 1 is 2, and we build from there. But eventually we get to the point, like right now in my oldest daughter's math, she's passing me. She's in 7th grade. I read her stuff, and I'm not a math person. That's by far my least. Yeah. So I'm checking her work, and she has them all right. And I'm just like, I don't know how she did this. She gets it, and I'm so tickled that she's learning it and getting it. But I can't, her book is teaching her that. But if she would come to me and say, I don't understand this, my job is to help find a way to get you to understand it. Yeah. So we either ask Dad for help, or we ask a friend for help. We go back to the book. We ask Uncle Mike, who's a math teacher, her uncle. Hey, I've already sent him pictures of things. How do I do this? And he helps. Yeah. So I guide you and help you learn the things that you need to know.
That's awesome.
For life.
Yeah, that's because I could imagine that, like you said, most people would have that intimidation factor of thinking that, I have to know all this. Well, I've seen my daughter's homework, her math. She's already passed what I did in high school level, and at the same time, you still, even with their homework, even them in a public school, you have to help them get the help that they need, just like you said.
And a lot of homeschool too is realizing where your child's giftedness is, where they excel, and where their weaknesses are, and then working with those two components. So if God has gifted your child in a certain way for something, they're going to understand it. They're going to be interested in it. They're going to be hungry for it. Yeah. It will come easier. Yeah. And you don't have to twist arms and pull teeth to get that kid to do that thing. Mm-hmm. And they're going to soar with it. And that is their giftedness and probably a trajectory of where they're going to go in life. Yeah. And so there's not as much struggle there. Then, their weaknesses or the things that they struggle with more, math. A lot of times parents or in a public school, you got this kid that's struggling with math, and it's like such a fight to help that kid. Well, I would say that God has not designed that child to be a mathematician in life, or their profession or their goals or their path in life is not going to be math heavy. Mm-hmm. So why don't we? Yes, I do think there are things. Of course, I'm not going to say, trash math. Yes, you need to know certain things. So we're going to push through to a certain, degree and level. But it's okay if you don't make it to calculus, or you just hate it, and we're going to ease off a little bit and take another route. Let's focus on those strengths and, just kind of get you on that way. A lot of parents just fret. Oh, they just hate this or they hate that. And I talk about God's giftedness for their child, and it kind of takes the pressure off, of those things. And
you get a front row seat to watching that child develop and find their strengths, mm-hmm. and kind of, guide them along the way. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
I just absolutely drowned it in math in high school, and it was so stressful to me and such a source of anxiety. And I look at my life now, and I just know that, I don't use hardcore math, every day. Right. It's okay that I didn't take calculus because I'm not using it right now in my life. Right. I'm not made that way.
Right. Yeah. So, there's obviously certain occupations that you might want to, excel in math at.
Right. Absolutely.
But so, how would you describe your? Well, that's next. Sorry. How do you decide what your kids get to learn? And you maybe already answered some of that. And then do they have a say in any of it?
Mm-hmm. I would look at it as a conversation between parents and kids. So ideally, you want to try to find the middle ground where both parties are very happy, or at least pretty happy with what's going on. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then it goes well. So if mom and dad like a curriculum, the kids like the curriculum, that's a thumbs up. And you just kind of, in my opinion, you just keep going until you hit a roadblock. Or I have friends that have been doing something for so long using a specific curriculum, and then a roadblock comes somewhere down the road, and homeschooling gives you the freedom to look at that and say, okay, well, this isn't working for us anymore. Let's change. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes a conversation where you get input from your kid. Mom, I just really hate, how they do this in the book, and all these videos we have to watch, and blah, blah, blah. And so we say, okay, well, let's try to find a curriculum that's different. And so then you start talking to your friends, your homeschool friends, and what do you use? And do some research and kind of get your hands on another curriculum and say, well, let's try this one. And fortunately for us in our house, we've, knock on wood, we haven't hit any roadblocks, obstacles yet. We started with something back in the beginning, and we've been rolling with it, and it's working, and everybody loves it. They love it. I love it. Thumbs up. Yeah. So
the network that you have is important when it comes to sharing ideas and.
Absolutely. We're part of a co-op, and we've got about 30 or so families there. So like 30 moms are in one place at one time, and we just bounce ideas off each other. Mm-hmm. Hey, I just had a friend this week, I'm not crazy about the language arts program we're using. I'm thinking about trying this one. Do you know anything about it? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I don't. I haven't used it myself, but you know what? So-and-so does. Why don't you ask her? Mm-hmm. And so then we just go around, talk to each other, and it's nice because usually the mom has the tangible book, and we can share it and look at it, and it's hands-on and show the kid, and just try it. That's all you can do. You try it.
Yeah.
If it works, great. If it doesn't, you can change what you do.
Awesome. So I was going to ask you, do you follow a specific curriculum, or is it something that's kind of fluid and you can jump as long as you're getting through or getting accomplished what you want to get done? Can you change up, or do you got to follow, once you sign on to a specific curriculum, do you have to follow that, or are you kind of free to do your own thing?
You are free to do your own thing. So if that means, well, like for us in our family, we have a curriculum, The Good and the Beautiful, and we really like their math, and we like their language arts, and their science. So every day my kids have to do a language arts lesson and a math lesson. Those are their core, foundational subjects. And then we I call it like sprinkle in, we salt and pepper in science to whenever time suits. So in a week's time, maybe we'll do a science lesson on Monday if we have time, and we'll do one on Thursday, or next week we might not do any. And Pennsylvania law says that you need 180 days of instruction of school to count. So, however in your family you decide, well, that was a lesson or that counted, that's up to you. And you say, we did it. We learned. It's kind of a joke. Did you learn?
One thing I've learned as a contractor is that you're only as good as the materials you use and the people you work with. That's why I go to SDC Building Center in Somerset. They've got everything I need for my job, from framing, lumber, to finish trim, to tools. And not only that, they know their stuff. If I've got a specific need or a question, they'll track it down and help me find the best solution. So whether you're a contractor like me or just tackling a weekend project, head into SDC Building Center in Somerset, tell them I sent you, and you'll see why they're the go-to place for the best builders in Somerset.
Yes, we learned.
Yeah,
there's learning everywhere. So you kind of do the mental check. Yep, we did it. Yeah. And then so you just kind of keep track along the way, and that's it. So our books are laid out nice. It's real easy. Every day we just open and go, and then we also have I didn't mention, we have a history curriculum too. That's a different one. Yeah. I had a friend. It's nice in homeschooling because you can swap around your books. I'm done with my books. Here, do you want them? So somebody gave me these history books for a curriculum, and we do that. It's called The Story of the World. So every couple days or whatever, I just say, okay, kids, we're doing history today. Go get your books, get your binders, and meet me at the table in 10 minutes. Yeah. And we just sit down and I read a story out of the book, and then we have some questions we answer and some activities, and that's it. Yeah. And the way, so sometimes I question, is this working? Like, are they, in public school, you were public school, right? Yeah. There's tests, like there's a test on Friday. And so, it's very formal and scary. You sit down, the teacher hands it out and you answer them, and she grades it, you get it back, and you have a solid grade, and that grade goes for your grade. Well, there's no grades in homeschool. You can if you want to. I'll say that. Some there's different types.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Well, if you want to, yeah. Like some follow the book more. Some moms are more follow a public school model. Some are completely not. They're off the radar, and some are in between. I'd say I'm in between, where I don't care for those hardcore tests, but I do think there's some value in them. So for history, it comes with a little test, and I tell them, okay, everybody do your test, and they sit there and answer them, and we check them when we're all done, and they don't get a grade or anything. We just correct them. But at one point I was wondering, like, is this working? Are they remembering these things? And there's 4 books in the series, and you do 1 book a year. So we are on the 3rd book. We've been doing it for 3 years. And my kids can tell me stories with great detail back from book 1. Yeah. Mom, do you remember whenever so-and-so did this and that over in, this country in Europe? And honestly, I don't remember it. But I know that they do. They remember the stories and facts from them, people and where they were and the time in history. And it just blew my mind because I'm like, it's sinking in.
Yeah.
They're remembering.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think that's, when things that, when you see a child develop, whether it's in sports or in education, and you've watched them grow as, you've watched them learn and pick up things, and it is rewarding, especially for somebody who's doing the teaching or the coaching. And
sure. Yeah. Or like my daughter doing that math when, I remember years ago when we started and I just thought, oh, how are we going to get to the harder stuff? And she's there. Yeah. She's doing algebra and she's rocking it. And I'm just like blown away by it, thinking it works. It worked. And I remember when you've got babies and toddlers, you think, I have to teach them how to read. Like that's the foundation of life, the basic function, I'm like, I have to teach them to read. Can I do that? And then I looked at my husband the other day. I'm like, guess what? They can all read. Yeah. Like I did it. Woo! So it's pretty neat.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit about balancing different age or grade levels. Is that a challenge? I mean, you talked a little bit about it.
It can be. I feel like we are in a good groove right now. It took me a while, and especially it depends on the age of your kids. If you've got a little toddler bouncing all over your house, of course, that's going to make things trickier. My daughters are all 2 years apart, so they're kind of close. So that's another point. We do science and history together. We all sit at the table, and everybody can absorb it at the same rate. Like I used to think, is the youngest one going to understand what I'm reading? Because it is I try to keep it a little higher because, the oldest one shouldn't be penalized with lower stuff, but I wasn't sure. And it's working. Like actually the last child I think has the best advantage because they've been hearing all the things from their older siblings. So when child number 1 was learning her multiplication facts, singing these songs, about 3 times 3 is 9, the little one was hearing that.
She's got a head start.
So when we got to times tables, she already knows 3 times 3 is 9 from the song her sister sang 4 years ago.
Learning her facts.
So, we can, you can kind of double up on stuff and they really surprise you. You think, oh, they're not going to remember this, or this is too over their heads. And they'll come at me later and use words that I had used in a lesson. I'm like, oh, you remember that.
So it can be an advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. And I'm sure it is because, I see my youngest pick up on things, obviously from her older sisters.
And the big ones can help the little one. You know, if the little one's writing a letter to grandma and she can't spell something or has a question, big sisters, are right there to help her.
And they're learning how to teach at the same time.
Exactly. I've been in some pinches where I have asked the older siblings, will you do a lesson with your little sister? Because I can't get it in today. And it gets a little hairy because not everybody likes to, listen to each other, but it has happened before. So
they're siblings. Okay, so one of the biggest questions people have about homeschooling is socialization. How do your kids stay connected with friends and other students or peers?
This is kind of a joke in the homeschool world where, traditionally people kind of, at least in the past, people viewed homeschoolers as the weird kids, the backward ones that were quiet or didn't know how to talk in public or anything. And it is so the opposite, in my opinion, because we are interwoven into so many other parts of life that they are really well adapted at being social. So for example, at one time we volunteered at a nursing home because I thought it's important to learn how to serve and how to be around people, your elders, and learn to respect. And so they have no hesitation to have a conversation with an older person, an elderly person. No problem at all. We spend our days with a lot of mixed company, older, younger, everybody in between. And so they have adapted. They know how to speak to people.
Yeah.
They know how to be respectful and call an older adult, by Miss, Mr. or Mrs. and using those manners, and knowing how to conduct themselves and have good manners in those situations. Whereas, I can kind of see the downside in a public school classroom. You've got 30 kids with the same, 30 kids of the same age with one or maybe two adults. They're the only people they interact with all day. And they have to, outsource sort of, or go beyond the walls of the school to get more interaction.
Right. And that's, and that will come down to the individual family. You can,
right.
If that's all these kids do is they go to school and they come home afterwards and they sit in a room and play a video game. Well, you're not going to be, that's the only socialization you're going to have.
Sure.
And that can be a negative. But, if you get them involved in a sports team or in 4-H or you're in church, youth group, that's great for everybody.
Right.
So it's a negative stereotype.
Right.
That really doesn't apply to everybody. There are the outliers.
Sure.
On both sides.
Right.
You've got the just the extreme ends of the spectrum on both things.
Right.
But really, when you think about it, when we started as a culture, and this was the way it was. They went to school, it was a small classroom, or when they started going to public school, but actually most kids were homeschooled up until like the 1800s when the first public schools were starting.
Right.
And even those classes were very small.
Right.
That's
the irony, is public school hasn't only existed, not that long ago.
Right.
Everything before that, all learning and education was on
being interwoven into the community to talk to everybody, to learn about your neighbors, learn about your friends. What are they doing? And I can learn about that. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. We visit our neighbors down the street a lot and, help them do yard work or whatever. And, oh my goodness, my kids could just talk. They just have rolling conversations with them and interact wonderfully.
Yeah.
It's what you make it. It's what you want to do. We choose to be involved in youth group and in church. And so we're in our co-op, we're seeing people all the time, as much as we want, or as much as we don't want to. I also think it's important to not be too busy. So we guard our time well. We reserve home days because I think it's important to just be home. It's okay we don't have to be running all the time. I have a strong conviction about, cooking homemade meals at home and we eat together. So that's a priority, and we make that.
The dinner table can be a great place for a family. If it seems like as a culture in general, everybody's busy and they kind of get away from that. But we sit and we'll talk. Of course, there's the evening or here or there, and as they're involved in sports, time gets busy. But Lindsay's always made it a point to cook. We have dinner together. But you can let that, and it's actually healthier to cook at home, and it's cheaper. Well, when you're a stay-at-home mom or a family with a mom at home, it's you have to try to be affordable.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we love to eat out once in a while, but 5 people times $10 each, that's a lot.
You get away with that.
Yeah, that's cheap. So, it's what you make it.
Yeah. You mentioned your co-op. Is that a huge support for you?
Yeah, it is. I actually wrote some notes about it here. I was messaging the gal that founded it, Anna Stelzer. She founded, it's called CCA, not to be confused with the online charter school.
Yeah, I see commercials for it. Yeah.
We get confused. Now, this is Classical Christian Academy, it stands for.
Okay.
They started out as a CC group back in 2011, which is Classical Conversations. And they only had like 3 families or so that just said, hey, we want to get together. We want to get our kids together. It was socialization. We just want to, leave the house once in a while. And then they kind of shifted gears in 2012 and formed CCA. And so Anna led that group, kind of grew it. It just kept growing from when they started it. And I became the coordinator in 2022. And I think we have, at one point, we were up to about 100 students, I think, and we've kind of we exploded, and then we kind of shrunk back a little bit. I think we have about, it's like 26 families or so maybe right now that are part of that group when we meet.
Oh, wow. Are they all from our area?
Yeah, we have, I'm trying to think where our farthest folks are from. We have a couple down on the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania that come up. But yeah, mostly like Somerset surrounding areas. We meet once a week for 10 weeks in the fall, 10 weeks in the spring. And we make a class schedule, and the kids just come together. They're with their peers, and they kind of travel around and go to different classes, but then we intermingle a lot. We do a concert together, 2 concerts a year, and it's fun. It's a good time just to get together, and have friend time and learn.
Yeah, awesome. What's one misconception that people often have about homeschooling?
Probably that the kids are super weird and they're not socialized. That mom has to know everything. She has to be a genius, and how could you possibly do that? And probably that, like, people, I know you said, like, you couldn't, the woman is made in this role to be the homemaker and stuff. And I mean, absolutely, I don't doubt that for a second. But we do lose our minds a bit. We, being at home all day with the kids is, day in and day out can get rough. So, moms, we build in things to help, keep our days moving, where we get together, or I'll have girlfriends where we do a kid swap, where I just say, I take yours and then you take mine another day, and mom gets a break or can do some things that she wants to, so homeschoolers, we don't have it all together and have this perfect, schedule that just works and is all, butterflies and rainbows. Yeah. There's problems. There's obstacles. Yeah. Problems, things pop up. But we just kind of knowing that we have the freedom to make changes and do what's best for our family, just kind of makes it, keeps the ball rolling, makes it worth it. Yeah. I read a story once of a mom who had all these kids. She was homeschooling, and she got really sick, had some health problem, and she was pretty much bedbound for weeks or months. And she wondered during that time, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep my family going? And looking back, those were the best months of her and her family's life in the homeschooling world, because she chose to put the books away, put the curriculums away, and just read quality stories, books out loud to her kids from her bed. So she's sitting in bed sick, and the kids piled on, and she just read storybooks to them, chapter books, and the kids even say, looking back, like, Mom, that was so special. I'm sorry you were sick. Of course, it was an unfortunate time, but it was like a reset for them. Yeah. They slowed down. Yeah. Their family was in turmoil. They did what they needed to do until Mom was better. And then, they picked up after that. Yeah. So it was neat.
What's been the hardest part of your journey so far?
With homeschooling, probably finding my groove. When you start off, it's overwhelming. There's all these choices. There's hundreds of curriculums, hundreds of books, thousands. What do we do? So probably settling on something and saying, I praying, God, what do you want us to do? Being led to something and saying, all right, we're going to try this. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. And then moving forward and kind of getting in that groove. So like my kids know now, when we wake up in the morning, this is pretty much what we're going to do. And the flow is pretty good. But getting to that flow was tricky. And when they were just littler, when we were toddlers, there's all kinds of crazy things going on in the day. So being okay with, all right, toddler problem, we just got to scrap the plan or do something else. Yeah. So probably just learning to go with the flow. Yeah. Roll with it.
Oh, you're brave. What was there ever a moment where like a specific moment, you were like, yes, this is why I do this?
Probably when I see my kids practicing something outside of our home, or, outside of the structure, that kind of wows me or amazes me, or like, I'm trying to think of an example. when a kid jumps in to help with something. I can't think an exact example, but like, we've been practicing our fractions or something, and then I see my kid putting it into practice in real life. Well, baking, like in the kitchen. It happens in the kitchen. My kid was in a 4-H project and she had to bake a cake, and it was so much math, involved, and there's so much there, in all the processes. And she was baking this cake for a neighbor down the street that had a baby. So there was a serving element to it too, where and I'm very much like, I make them do it. You do this, I'll drive you down there, but you do the talking and you deliver and all that. I want you to become independent and learn how to do those things. So seeing your kid execute it, and from start to finish, with help along the way, I don't let them fend for themselves completely, but seeing a project or a task completed and just sitting back and going like, that was great, that was awesome. Like they are turning into wonderful young women, that are kind of on the path that we'd hoped and prayed for. They're doing it. We're proud of them.
Come to life.
Yeah. Or like they will recognize this person's sick or this person is discouraged. Let's write them a letter. Let's write them a note. Let's draw them a picture and deliver it. Or maybe we could make this gift for so-and-so, mommy. And just, well, those are just character qualities. That's not even, homeschool, you get to build into your children and, instill the qualities, the morals that you want.
Everything's cohesive.
Yeah,
you're learning about life at the same time.
Right. It's not there's not separate pieces. It just all kind of weaves together. To one. Art class can be let's watch this video, this tutorial, and draw that picture that we're learning to do, and then let's give it to the neighbor who is sick. Let's make some cookies to go with the picture, and then it's just like. That was nice. It's nice to serve and do, because that's what life's about.
Yeah, it puts a personal touch on. Yeah, very cool. Have you seen something in your kid, and maybe you kind of already touched on this, but like seen something in your kids like confidence, creativity, or independence, like you just described, that homeschooling you think helped bring that out of them?
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe even in other kids too. You're seeing other homeschooled kids also, so
sure. I see ambition growing. Our girls all take piano lessons, and they are getting better. They're growing in confidence. And I saw like my one daughter said, I want to do a song for the coffee house coming up. Do you think can we do it? And I was like, absolutely. Why don't you ask? Get your song together, gather your people, get your music, and let's ask if you can be in it and see what happens, And so like I gave her the reins, and watching her like email her friends and, hey, can you come for a practice? Hey, and making it happen, organizing. We got, my daughter came to me with, we just got a big box of yarn that someone donated and gave to us. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with all this yarn? We have a ton. We don't need any more. She came and made a granny square, crocheted it, made a granny square. I said, that's wonderful. Like, you should give that as gifts, or you could sell it, or, and then I saw like the eyes, widen and
sell it.
And yes. And so there's an entrepreneurial aspect there. And I was like, this box of yarn, like it was free. You go. There's your supplies. So she's like, oh, I saw the fire, like
that's cool,
light up, and knew that, okay, there's a project, and that's the kind of thing, a lot of kids today are into, we're addicted to our smartphones and our video games and things like that. And there's a time and place for those, but I'd like, I want to see my kid making granny squares, and
or anything that they can do hands-on and learn a skill.
Sure.
And learn to be a little entrepreneur.
Sure. Or being disciplined to play the piano and knowing that you'll take that through your life. You can be a 90-year-old grandma and still play the piano, so that's really neat. Has homeschooling changed the way that you really
won't say change because you've been doing this the whole time with your kids, but have you gotten to experience like our local area in a different way that you think you wouldn't have been able to without homeschooling?
Yes, mostly just with the logistics of time. Like we are available, you know, if you're in public school, you're booked from 8 a.m. till 3 to 4, you know, that's school time. We're just free. Like we can, I think, you know, my dad will say, there's a train display up at this place. Can we go? Absolutely. What time? 1 o'clock? Okay, we're there. We go. And we're you know, and that is a learning experience. We're learning about trains and, you know, so we're just available, you know, time wise for things that we can do in the area that, you know, maybe, you know, the public school has the, you know, is a little tighter on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You can do a field trip pretty much at any time.
Sure. Right. Yeah. We just had a couple the other week. We went to the one-room schoolhouse, the Glade one-room schoolhouse during the school day. And, you know, we were all there and got like a hands-on, you know, face-to-face experience that was really awesome. And those kids will remember that for the rest of their lives, you know?
Yeah. I can remember somebody came in to, you know, this was, I forget what grade, but they like teaching us how to make dried apples. I never remember, probably because of food, and I love food, but I remember making those dried apples, you know. But it's funny what kids remember in those experiences, like making dried apples. I remember hanging them on a string. I remember what they tasted like, you know.
That's right. Fun fact, I remember in science dissecting the owl pellets. Did you ever do that? It's
what?
The owl, like the bird.
Oh, yeah.
The owl pellet.
Yeah.
He eats a whole mouse, digests it, and then he regurgitates the little hairball with a full mouse skeleton in it. And in science class, they give you tweezers and you get to pull the thing apart. Yeah. It's like super gross, but and then you pull out this mouse skull and you're like, whoa, his teeth are in there. And it's just like, that's a vivid memory I have from school. Yeah. And so we're studying birds right now in our science, and we get the next lesson is birds of prey. And an owl is that, you know, he's eating mice. And I'm like, we have got to dissect owl pellets. Yeah. So I'm like going out of my way to try to figure out how could we do this. Yeah. And long story short, we end up going on this awesome like field trip night, and they had, lo and behold, a whole container of owl pellets. I'm like, go ahead, girls, dig in.
Was this at a state park or anything?
Was it at a state park?
Yeah.
It was at the Powder Mill Nature Reserve down in Rector. Okay. They had a special owl night that you could pay. I paid the same money to go to that for my whole family to go that I was going to buy owl pellets on Amazon for, just these little pellets. And I'm like, we got a whole experience.
Yeah, which you got a way better deal.
Much better. So we were pulling those suckers apart, and it was really a cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. So as you move on with this, you're kind of like right smack in the middle of it right now. What's the future of homeschooling look like? One, for your family, and then maybe in general.
I kind of view it as taking it, a day at a time, really, if you're going to break it down. We're just going to go a day at a time, but kind of more of a big picture. Let's just take it a year at a time. I realize that things can change. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people in my life who things have changed for different reasons. You know, somebody gets sick, you know, there's an illness that rocks the family, or a move, or something just changes, and that changes their plan, their homeschool plan. You know, they were homeschooling, and now, you know, for whatever reason, they go to an online model, and they're doing an online school instead of kind of the, you know, more traditional, or they go back to public school, and that was their plan all along. I know that things can change, and again, that's the freedom and the beauty of homeschool is to do that. So for us, my plan is just to keep doing what we're doing, just keep going until the Lord says otherwise, or something changes, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah. You know, you never know. You don't know. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, you know? Right. So you just keep going, and
none of us do.
Right. Nobody knows. Yeah. It's there's always a joke about like, what's your 5-year plan? And I just laugh because I'm like, Well, I'm just going to go with my 5-minute plan, and that's
exactly.
And
Yep.
and don't get me wrong, it's good to have goals.
Yeah.
I don't want to diss that. It's good to have goals. It's good to have plans, but man makes plans, and it might not be God's plan.
That's right. Yep.
So you just have to trust Him and what comes, and just a day at a time, really.
Podcasting was not in my 5-year plan, by the way.
Oh yeah, and here we are.
Yeah, right, and here we are.
Right.
So, okay, just a couple quick wrap-up questions. So, favorite outdoor spot that you like to take the kids in Somerset County?
In Somerset County, is Shawnee in Somerset County? I think that's in
would be
Bedford.
Or Cambria. No, Shawnee would be Bedford. Yeah.
Shawnee's like our really.
Yeah, that's close enough.
That's our. That's my favorite place to go. That place is just really special to me from a long time ago, and I just like to take them there. And in the summer, we swim and we play on the beach there, then the playground, and then we like to walk the whole around the lake. And we went there for our bird, like everything's together. So we were learning about birds. I said, let's go to Shawnee and look for some birds, and just make a day of it. So we really like going there. I'm trying to think if there's any other favorites.
You have a local business or place that you or your family visits often?
Often, probably we love the Mennonite and Amish communities. So we go to Dormina's out on 30 a lot. We buy a lot from them. We're so excited because they sell coffee now, and they're like they're expanding and selling like things for in the kitchen, like my homemaker pans and things. And have you ever heard of Swamp Crest?
No.
It's an Amish. That's where I got the chocolate milk I was telling your wife from. It's just an Amish little business. They have a little shed on their property, and you just come and go as you want. It's an honor system, and they sell raw milk and all kinds of other neat, just homemade products. Yeah. And that's like what we're aiming for in life. Homemade.
Yeah, homemade. You got homemade education.
Yeah.
Homemade products. Yeah.
So we go out there when we can.
Yeah,
and
homemade's a great, and people spend a lot of money advertising with the word homemade in it.
You're right. Well, we've gotten away from it. Yeah. Back in the day, great grandma, Paul Ingalls, everything was homemade, right? And if you didn't make it, you didn't have it. And if you didn't have food, you died. So it was really important.
Yeah.
Today, we are so spoiled.
Right.
And, kids have lost. I think I read an article once where the husband said he decided to homestead because his children didn't know where a tomato came from. There was some argument about like getting a tomato, and they were like, well, from the grocery store, Dad. And he's like, yeah, but where does it come from? The store. And he, like, a light bulb went off of, my kids don't know how a tomato grows. Yeah. We have to change that. So that was kind of the switch for him. And we've done that too. We homestead, we have a big garden, try to do as much as we can, chickens. So
I was proud of just a little public school prop here, Rockwood. They got a greenhouse down there.
Oh, cool.
The science program.
Yeah.
There, kids are growing stuff. But somebody donated that to the school, which
Good.
was awesome.
That's great. Hands-on.
That's the first, I think, the greenhouse that they've had. So
I think cool. North Star does that.
I just love anything hands-on for them because it is just an awesome way to learn, and it creates a memory along with the actual learning.
Sure.
Sure. Finally, one word that would describe your homeschooling style.
Style? I'll say flexible.
Okay.
Because we really
close. That wasn't the word I was going to come up with. I was going to say freedom, but I guess they're both alike.
Yeah, they're really similar.
Yeah.
It's really nice just to wake up in the morning and know that I have a loose plan.
Yeah. And
we're going to try to follow it. But,
Yeah, you can be open for things that come along your way.
Yeah.
If a friend calls and says,
yes. Hey, I have tickets for this event. Can you come? Yeah, we can. We'll be there. What time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just do it.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I love about running my own business is the flexibility to it doesn't come without with risk is reward, and nothing ventured, nothing gained, and you've taken that approach to your kids' education, and it's commendable. And
thank you.
Yeah, it's great. I'll just say that I think you've done your community or your co-op a great service by coming in here and speaking on their on your own behalf, but really the community in general, and you did a great job with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did very well.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming on, and I've learned a ton, you know, and hopefully others will too. So.
There's always more to learn. That's the mantra, is you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You just keep going through life learning.
Maybe I'll have to get an adult that was homeschooled and get their perspective.
Yeah. Yes. That I have several friends that are in that world, and I always pick their brains. Or when I go to talk to someone, I say, "Did you go to public school or homeschool?" Because it changes things, and I love to hear the perspectives from different people and the pros and cons that come with it.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. The freedom to choose is really cool, and So. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Julie.
All right. You're welcome.
Be sure to check out SDC Building Center in Somerset. As a contractor, I use them, and I can tell you they're the real deal when it comes to quality and service. So next time you're planning a project, stop in and see them. And they just might have that gift idea you've been looking for.